Hi everyone, in this video we will be learning how to solve linear equations. We will first take a look at this example. In this example, we want to solve 2x plus 3 equals to 9. So what does the word solve actually means? When we say we want to solve an equation, it means that we need to find the value of x. In order for us to find the value of x, we should not be doing any trial and error method because the trial and error method can be a very tedious process, especially when the equation is very complicated. Therefore, we learn how to use a more efficient method, that is by balancing the equation. However, before we go about balancing an equation, we must know what are we trying to achieve at the end. So, to actually go about solving the equation, we aim to have x equals to something, whereby x is what we're trying to find, and the something, okay, the empty space that I've written, means that we're trying to find the numbers. Okay, so at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is to figure out the exact number or the value, okay, of this unknown x that we have in this equation. So to begin, in the equation 2x plus 3 equals to 9, to try to balance out this equation, we want to first remove the 3 that is found on the left-hand side of the equation, and that is found over here. So in order to remove this plus 3 over here, what we will do is to minus 3 on the left-hand side in order to have a zero pair, since plus 3 and minus 3 becomes 0. When we do a minus 3 on the left side of the equation, we must also minus 3 on the right side of the equation. Therefore, our next step looks like this. So this plus 3 and minus 3 over here becomes a 0 in value, and then the minus 3 needs to appear on the right side in order to ensure that our entire equation remains balanced. So we see that because our plus 3 minus 3 becomes a 0 and 9 minus 3 becomes a 6, therefore in our next step, we will get 2x equals to 6. So plus 3 minus 3 is gone from the left side, and on the right side we have the value 6. At this point with 2x equals to 6, we will now need to remove away the 2 over here, and in this part of the equation, this 2x means that it is 2 times x, or 2 multiplying x. So since it is a multiplication over here, in order to break away the 2, the opposite of multiplication will actually be division. So to get rid of the 2, we will have to divide by 2 on the left-hand side of the equation. When we divide by 2 on the left-hand side of the equation, we need to divide by 2 on the right-hand side in order to balance out the equation. Therefore, our next step will look like such, where we have 2x divided by 2 on the left-hand side and 6 divided by 2 on the right-hand side. And we see that 2 divided by 2 becomes a 1, therefore we are only left with 1x, and 6 divided by 2 becomes a 3, and hence we have a 3 on the right side. Hence, at the end of my answer, I have successfully achieved x equals to 3, which is what we're trying to find in this equation itself. In this next example, we want to solve the equation 2 times y minus 4 equals to 5y minus 3. Notice that I've called this 2 times y minus 4 because this pair of brackets that we have written means that it is a multiplication. So we have 2 multiplying the group of items here, which is y minus 4. So back to the idea of solve, what we're trying to do is to find out the value of y, and therefore in the end of my answer, we aim to have y equals to something, where then something refers to a number. So in order to solve this question, we need to first expand out 2 times y minus 4 by applying our distributive law, or we informally call it the rainbow method as well. So we take this 2 over here and multiply it into the y. Likewise, I also consider this 2 and multiply over to the negative 4. Hence, we will have 2y minus 8. In my next step, I write 2y minus 8 equals to 5y minus 3. There is no change to the right hand side because we did not do anything to it at all. Now that we have 2y minus 8 equals to 5y minus 3 without any brackets involved, we want to arrive at this aim, our objective of y equals to something. So let's get rid of this minus 8 over here first. In order to get rid of this minus 8, we know that minus 8 will actually be so-called neutralized by a plus 8. By neutralizing, what I mean is that we are achieving a zero pair. So if I add a 8 on the left side of the equation, I will be able to remove the minus 8. Likewise, on the right side of the equation, in order to keep things balanced, I need to plus an 8 as well. Therefore, in my next step, I have 2y minus 8 plus 8 equals to 5y minus 3 plus 8. Hence, we see that the minus 8 plus 8 will actually become a 0. Hence, in our next step, we can write 2y, not needing to write the plus 0 or minus 0 since it's redundant. We then have 5y minus 3 plus 8 that becomes a plus 5 because recall that minus 3 plus 8 or negative 3 plus 8 will actually give us a positive 5. You may press into a calculator to actually find that out as well. Now that we have 2y equals to 5y plus 5, keeping in mind that we want to achieve this aim over here, that means that I need to remove away the 5y that we have on the right side of the equation. We see that this 5y actually refers to a positive 5. So if I may, let me use my pen here just to include this positive idea. So because it is actually a positive 5y, in order to get rid of this positive 5y or create a zero pair, we need to introduce a minus 5y on the right side of the equation. When I introduce a minus 5y on the right side, I also need to introduce a minus 5y on the left hand side because that is how we go about balancing the equation. Hence, we have 2y minus 5y equals to 5y plus 5 minus 5y. Then we see that with this positive 5y over here and this minus 5y over here, it actually turns out to become a 0. So therefore, in my next step, I will be able to have negative 3y equals to 5. So this positive 5y and minus 5y is gone. We are left with the positive 5, which I just write it as 5 will do. And on the left hand side, 2y minus 5y will give us a negative 3y. Because 2 minus 5 gives us negative 3. Now that we have negative 3y equals to 5, we are now still one step away from achieving y equals to something or y equals to a number. So that one step away is actually being hindered by this negative 3 over here. So this negative 3 actually is multiplying with the y. Okay, it is multiplication over here. It is not a subtraction. Do not be deceived by the negative sign. This negative sign is for the idea of negative 3 as the coefficient. So in order to so-called get rid of this negative 3, which is multiplying with the y, we will do a division because division actually neutralizes or is the opposite of multiplication. So when we divide by negative 3 on the left side, we need to divide by negative 3 on the right side. For the lack of space in my presentation slide, I will write my answer on the right over here. So I'm dividing by negative 3 and dividing by negative 3 on the left and right side. So this negative 3 upon division by negative 3, it will actually become a 1 because I know that if I take a number, divide by itself, it will become 1 itself. So I'm left with 1y, which I can just write y itself, and 5 over negative 3 will then become negative 1 whole and 2 over 3. That can be achieved by simply pressing to a calculator as well, where I can key in the fraction or just type 5 divided by negative 3. Therefore, we have arrived at the answer, which is y equals to negative 1 and 2/3.